All right, welcome back, everyone. You're watching The Green Room with Aima and the HG crew in the house.
HG?
You know they take over the joint whenever they're in the house, so it's always awesome to have them in here. So continuing in some of the stuff we're talking about before we went to break, you had briefly mentioned some of the things that you struggle with. So I don't know if you want to throw anything out there, something personal that, because a lot of the times they're watching at home, they see these pastors, deacons, and they feel like they have their life all together.
Yeah,
and if you can speak on something that you personally struggle with, it could really connect with somebody watching at home. So I don't know if there's anything you want to mention. You can start with pastor. You can start with the pastor.
Oh, man. You know, it's 101 different things that the pastor struggles with, you know.
We don't have time for all of them.
We don't have time for all of them, you know. But one thing I really try to do with my church, and these men being in my church can bear witness, is I try my best to be transparent as possible.
Okay.
You know, it's hard being a pastor. And I think that's what had us get into this shift to music mode.
Okay.
Is actually dealing with ministry. You know, it's hard being a pastor. It's hard staying humble. It's hard when you're in charge. The biggest thing I struggle with right now is the fear of falling.
Okay.
I know that may sound crazy, and some people may not understand that, some people will. I have a fear of falling because I have so many people in my hands.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That I have to guide, that I have to lead. Yeah. I'm afraid of making bad decisions. I think I'm afraid of not being successful. And sometimes that fear alone hinders you. Yeah. And it puts you in the box because it forces you to stay there so that you are not stepping out into a place of where you may, or go out into the deep where you may drown. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So I think on that level, it's really difficult. It's hard. You know, I mean, I can deal with the lust issues. You know, I can deal with the overeating. You know, which has been an issue that we working on at our church all the way around the board. Okay. I can deal with people attitudes problems as long as it's not affecting my family. Okay. You know, I've learned how to put the ego aside a little bit. You know, right. Road rage I still have a problem with. I'm working on that.
Working on that.
But I think the biggest thing that I struggle with personally is the fear of not being successful. Okay. You know, and I don't really think people really understand how brutal that is. You know, and how hard you can be on yourself when you are not, when you have that fear. Because when you have so many eyes on you, people watch your every step. People look for something to talk about. You know, and when you're in a position, not just in the church, not just in a record label, but in the community, That's right. in the ears of the politicians constantly, you get that fear of saying, yo, you know what? I woke up one day because I felt like somebody was trying to kill me. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. God, excuse me, I'm getting a little emotional. I had a fear that somebody was trying to kill me because of what I was doing. I can imagine what Martin Luther King was dealing with on a national level, and I'm just dealing with it in the city. I get up at night sometime and I check my doors.
Wow. And
walk downstairs because of the gangs that I'm infiltrating. Because I have blood leaders in my gang, blood leaders in my church who I'm trying to snatch out of that hand.
Right.
And I sit there and go and check my doors.
Wow.
Because I oppose politicians openly. Because of the things that they do wrong, I go downstairs and check my doors to make sure nobody's trying to kill me. I've never dealt with that. When I was in the street, it was never a problem. Right. But I can't react the same way. So I think that's a major issue for me right now that I've been dealing with recently.
And I think what we can do to help you is just continue to lift you up in
prayer.
Please,
man. Whoever needs it, you know what I mean?
So our people watching at home, now you have something you can do for Pastor.
It's real, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can't possibly imagine what you go through, but I can pray for you.
Yeah, please do.
I can pray for you.
Please do. We all need it.
So Jia, I almost called you your old name again. I got artist formerly known as JL.
Yes.
Okay, it's free now. Tell us a little bit. I know you get to see Pastor all the time, but you could also speak on yourself personally, some of the things you see and go through.
Well, like, me personally, man, I don't even know where to begin, I've been crying out to God for a while now. 'Cause, sometimes you get to a point to where it's like, God, how did I go from here to here? And you have your inner struggles as a man. I'm not a perfect person, being married and all. I made mistakes, but it makes you stronger. But then sometimes, like, you think back, like, yo, did I really have to go through what I went through to even, get where I'm at?
Okay.
So, I don't know, guilt issues, unforgiveness,
Right.
with not forgiving other people but myself. I don't like letting people down. I try to do my best and do right by people. Sometimes I don't feel like it's enough. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like I could be doing more for God's kingdom. And sometimes, like, that could be a trick of the enemy. And it weighs you down a lot, because you feel like, you're not living right, you're not doing right. So then you make a mistake, and it's like, wow, the whole time I was doing right when the enemy was just setting me up to do wrong with ministry and stuff, So now it's like, I'm really just like trying to come out of this, being bound to church and just being free, free and just being like, you know what, God, I'm yours. And I'm just here to be led by whatever you have me to do.
That's
I'm going to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I don't have a potty mouth. You know what I'm saying? I don't use foul language. But, sometimes, you get frustrated. And as a youth pastor dealing with these hard-headed youth out here, you tend to, you tend to slip up.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to check yourself sometimes. So it's just, you're human first. But you got to understand what's on the, what I understand is what's on the inside of me is greater. So everybody is judging me and looking at me like, this dude did this to his wife, and this dude did this to this brother, and this dude did that, and X, Y, and Z, and you're hearing this feedback. It kind of puts you in a box. You know what I'm saying? I learned something. It's not the fact that we putting God in a box. Once we put ourselves in a box, that's when every access to God gets cut off. Because God says, look, I know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Even when you don't even know yourself, I know who you are.
That's a comforting thought.
Yeah. I cried enough about it. I cried enough. And God said, you know what? It's just time for you to just come up and just be the man that I called you to be. Even with your flaws, be the man. Because David had flaws. Joseph had flaws. Moses had flaws. They all turned out to be great men of God. So I understand that God could take somebody.
Come with your flaws.
Yeah, with flaws and turn them into something great. It's just time. It's just time. I'm just letting God have his time. I tried so many times to be like this man. And he'll tell you, I tried. I tried to be in his shoes. And God's like, yo, no, that's not where I want you at. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be you. You know what I'm saying? I look up to him and the great man that he is. And, you say, yo, he's so powerful. I want to be able to speak into lives and just watch him be transformed. And it's just, you can't do that. You got to allow God to take you through your course in your life, you know what I'm saying, and learning from your mistakes. So, that's just being real,
So, Nation, what would you say, where do you see, I know Pastor had already mentioned that, if God leaves us here right now, that's fine. But where do you see